Geoff, three best odds on the board belong to Brooks Koepka at plus 1,100, and then Jordan Spieth and Colin Morikawa at plus 1,200. So, who would you separate from this pack as either too high or too low?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty interesting pack. Obviously, you have Colin Morikawa coming off the Open Championship not too long ago. Obviously, was right in the contention for the bronze medal. But I feel like the guy who really should be the favorite here is Brooks Koepka. I mean, this is a player who's finished T6 or better now in 4 of his last 5 starts. And as we know with Brooks, as the events get bigger, this just tends to be where he shows up. It really does feel like you've got Koepka. He's come up short at the majors this year, Jesse, but that doesn't mean that he can't make up for this season a little bit with wins at places like the WGC and the FedEx Cup playoffs. His approach game is trending. He's a good Bermuda player as well. I feel like this is the player who really should be the favorite here. And from this group, I would say his odds, if anything, they're maybe a touch too high, so maybe they could be lower. Jordan Spieth is really the player from this group that I don't think necessarily belongs. He's played well. Yes, he's coming off the Open Championship where he was T2 and he was in contention, but that's the Open. The Open is where Jordan Spieth kind of flourishes. He's a good links player. I don't really like him up against these tee to green beasts like Morikawa and Koepka in these events. So I feel like Jordan Spieth is pretty easy fade for me at this price.
Well, Xander Schauffele is coming off a gold medal victory at the Olympics in Japan, so he might be in for like a little bit of a letdown this week. His odds are right behind the favorites at plus 1,400. Too high or too low, Geoff?
Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit too low. I mean, Xander is a player who gets bet down anyways, and his odds always seem like just a little bit too low to what they could be. But then you add in the fact that he's coming off a gold medal and he won where he was going off around plus 800 or plus 1,000. There's no way we were going to get proper odds on Xander this week. I mean, look, you mentioned it. He just won an Olympic gold medal. I mean, I don't think the dude has slept much over the last 48, 56 hours. So you add that into effect. And then you also add in this event. I mean, Bermuda greens, smaller Bermuda greens. Xander could certainly pop off in an event like this. He's done it before, but you look at the players around him. Dustin Johnson has bigger odds. Justin Thomas has far bigger odds than him. Even going down to like Daniel Berger, I'd much rather just look for the value with the better play, with the bigger odds this week over Xander. So these really feel too low. Again, I'm not even going to speculate what this guy's been doing the last 56 hours, but it's not resting. So you add that into effect, and his odds look too low this week.
Another guy who probably hasn't been resting, defending champ at this event, Justin Thomas, also fresh off the Olympics. Like a lot of travel here. He's not celebrating a gold medal, but his odds sit at plus 1,800. Do you think those are too high or too low, Geoff?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned it. Justin Thomas brought up on his Instagram how many miles he's flown over the last, I think, month, basically, going to the Open, obviously, going to Scotland, and then flying to Japan and flying back to Memphis now in 1 week. It's a lot. I can't remember how much it was, but I still don't mind if you want to take a look at Justin Thomas here at plus 1,800. I think both him and Dustin Johnson are very intriguing in this range. These are two players in Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas who they just have really insane win rates. These guys win multiple events per year going back 3 or 4 years now. So when we get them at plus 1,800, plus 2,000 or better, you kind of just got to just click the name and just go with it because these guys, they find ways to break through. Justin Thomas at plus 1,800 this week. Yeah, he wasn't great at the Olympics, but it really just came down to putting. I mean, he could not buy a putt. And look, obviously he won this event last year, so he's got some synergy going with the course. He did lose strokes on the greens here last year and still won, but I do think his approach game is pretty close. I would rather bet Dustin Johnson at this number at plus 1,800 than Justin Thomas, but I really don't think either are bad bets at this number.
So right behind Thomas is two-time winner of the FedEx St. Jude Classic, Daniel Berger. Now, he also finished T2 last year at plus 2,000. So do you think his odds are too high or too low?
I mean, at first glance, you look at Berger in this field, you got Rory McIlroy and Victor Hovland with bigger odds, and you say, these odds are ridiculous. I mean, you can't bet Daniel Berger at plus 2,000 when Rory and Hovland are available at bigger odds because Rory and Hovland, quite frankly, they're just better players. They're better tee to green. They're a little bit more consistent. Berger is right up there, but I still think you've got to say he's a little bit of a class behind. So you factor in the course history. These are probably what you call fair odds on Daniel Berger. I wasn't expecting to get some kind of discount. this guy has basically dominated this course every time he's come here. So you're never going to get a discount on a guy with as good course history as Daniel Berger. He's also coming off a top 10 at the Open Championship. So at the same time, I would rather bet those players I just mentioned. I mean, when you're getting plus 2,200 on Rory compared to Berger, I'm going to take Rory. And the same goes with Hovland. They're just better players, Jesse. And when you're getting the bigger odds, you've got to go with those players because they hit the outright wins more often, especially a guy like Hovland, who's now already up to around 4 wins, I believe, for his professional career. So I'm not really so much out on Berger as I am in on the guys with bigger odds above him.
Well, can't talk to you and not bring up your boy, Louis Oosthuizen, who also sits at plus 2,000 to win. Like, he's been playing so well, Geoff, but hasn't been able to secure a victory. Hasn't been able to get that W.
No.
So too high or too low on Oosty.
I mean, look, I appreciate what the producers do for me in this segment. And we have the weekly, we got to touch on what Louis' odds are every week. So I can't really make a good case. I basically just told you why Daniel Berger was looking a little bit too low at plus 2,000. And Oosty, I mean, he is so close. He's obviously firing in all factors of his game. Even his approach game is up there now. He was T6 at this event last season. I think I would rather bet Oosty than Daniel Berger. I think that if you're not going to bet anyone under 2,000, you could start with Oosty and maybe take like a Victor Hovland to go along with them, because at the very least, when you're getting into that range, you can take a couple players rather than just putting all your chips maybe on like a Brooks Koepka at plus 11 or plus 1,200. So I think Oosty, I would rank slightly above Daniel Berger here just because of the way he's playing. And the breakthrough, Jesse, it feels inevitable at this point, but these odds are fair at best. I mean, again, when you have guys like Rory and Victor coming in above him on odds, it's kind of hard to make a huge case for him, but I would rather take a shot at him than Berger. And again, I think that if you're playing two players from this range, from this kind of plus 2,000 range, Oosty would definitely be on the card. It's just a matter of who do you want to play above him, Rory or Hovland.
All right, slated for big time, Geoff. Who's got your favorite odds on the board?
Yeah, right now I'm going to be taking a shot with Rory McIlroy here at plus 2,200. I think these odds are just a little bit too big. I mean, this is a player played very well at the Olympics. He was motivated. He was tracking well right before the Olympics with his ball striking. I mentioned it a couple times. I feel like his odds compared to guys like Berger, just a little bit too big here. So give me Rory at plus 2,200.